Oh, hi, Mark. Oh, boy, oh boy, oh boy. I didn't take notes for this movie. Full, full disclosure. All right, I reviewed a movie earlier, and then I tried to review another movie. That didn't go as planned. It turned into a different video that I did that you guys will see probably eventually. Doesn't matter. So I wasn't intending on making a review for this video in any way, shape, or sorry, a review for this movie in any way, shape, or form at all. But oh my god. This movie has me giddy. You don't understand. You Do you ever watch movies and then you get giddy with excitement after you're done watching them? Like you're ready to punch a wall, not out of anger, but just out of excitement? I literally, like, when this movie ended, like, genuinely, right as the credits started rolling, I jumped up and I started, like, punching the air, making noises like a little schoolgirl or some shit. Man, it was euphoric. All right, so um Incident in a Ghostland is a horror film directed by Pascal Lafayette. I think I said his name right. He's the same guy that did Martyrs. By the way, I love Martyrs as well. Martyrs is an absolute masterpiece. So I actually came into this with pretty high expectations, but oh my god. So look, this is going to be a spoiler review. I am going to include that in the title of the video here because I don't feel like I can just go ahead and spoil this movie. You know what I mean? Like something like Channel 13. This movie has, I guess technically this movie's only been out for a few years, but you know it was made in 1987, or you know, like say I review Friday the 13th. You know it was made in 1980. I feel okay not putting spoilers in the title of that film. Not this film, though. It's a fairly recent film. I don't know how recent, but I know it's fairly recent. So I do feel like I need to put spoilers in the title of the video. But if you didn't see that, this is your warning. This is a spoiler review. All right, so this is a film about a girl who, when she is young, experiences something incredibly traumatic. And so when she's older, you know what? I can't explain it like that because that would be like a non-spoiler review, like I'm trying to be vague about it. Basically, this girl experiences this terrible thing as a child. And what ends up being the case is that this thing that she experienced as a child never ended. Like, she thought that she got out and her sister was still there at the house, but she was just a bit of a basket case. And, you know, her mom had become kind of an alcoholic, and so she started drinking this cheap beer and whatever. That's not the case at all. She never got out. Neither did her sister. Her sister's not crazy. She's just still there, and she's mentally there. Whereas the sister, who is the main character, she is a writer. She writes stories. And so basically she goes off to these fantasy lands. Basically, she mentally checks out, and she goes off to this fantasy life that she has as an adult. But she doesn't really have that life, but she can slip into it every now and then. And guys, this movie is horrifying. I'm gonna be totally honest. I was sitting there the whole movie yelling at the TV. I was getting rowdy with this movie. I was getting hyped. I was getting rowdy. This movie is not only scary, it is disturbing. And it is crazy. I So the film opens, and what it presents to us is that these people are on their way to stay at their aunt's house. This mother character's sister, um, and petting my dog. I felt him shaking earlier, but anyway, uh, this mother character's sister. I guess she killed herself or something happened, and they're driving down the street, and oh my god, this candy truck is driving by them, and the guy waves at them, and they wave back, and then the little sister flips him the bird as they're going past. What ends up happening is this candy truck follows them to their house. And in that candy truck was this hulking, like 450-pound guy who is like slow. He's mentally off. He's mentally challenged, but he is also a monster. Like, he is a terrible human, and he is the nastiest, most psycho crazy motherfucker this side of the equator. I mean, this guy is absolutely crazy, and he's terrifying. And also in the truck was another man who was dressed in drag, and he's terrifying as well. And so what ensues after that is their mother gets into a fight with them, and she ends up stabbing the big guy to death, and then she stabs the man in drag in the jugular. And it cuts to however many years later. She wakes up like she just had a nightmare. And she has a husband. She's a writer, which she always wanted to be. And she's going to go to this big dinner or whatever. And then she gets a call from her sister. And her sister is, screaming, help me, save me. You need to come back. And she goes back to the house, and she finds her mother there. Her mother is drinking a lot of like low quality beer, I guess, and her sister is hurting herself a lot. And basically the sister gets hurt really badly one night, and then the mom leaves the house. She said she's gonna go call an ambulance, and while she's there, I guess she slips back into reality, because this is when it begins, and this is when it unveils kind of what's happening here. She never had that life in the city. This alternate life and this alternate story that she's concocted in her head is a cope that she's using to deal with this terrifying situation and this absolutely awful situation. The cheap beer. Her mom doesn't drink cheap beer. The mom, first of all, she lost that fight that she was having with the man in drag. She lost the fight. She ended up dying. and they ended up keeping them in captivity. The cheap beer was in her fantasy world because these two guys drink the cheap beer, and I guess they give it to them. They force them to drink it before they do things to them, in order to, I guess, make it easier for them. But they really don't seem concerned with what they want at all. So I don't know why they would bother giving them any. But and then the phone call, the come back, that's actually her sister telling her to come back to reality, because her sister was stuck in this fantasy world that she had concocted for herself. And so from there, it just goes insane. And now we're basically stuck in this house. Like, now we know this is reality. She never had a family outside of her mom and her sister. The family members that she did concoct in her head were pictures in the basement. And now she's got to find a way to escape from these monstrous, evil people. I mean, these are some of the scariest horror villains in a long time. They never give these two characters names. The only thing they're ever addressed as, and they're only addressed as this once, is the ogre and the witch. And that is very much so, like, those are fitting names. They very much so, like, look like that, give off that sort of vibe. They are very scary characters. Man. And the performances in this movie from everybody are phenomenal. I mean, just absolutely incredible. I can't with this movie right now, man. I'm too tired to be doing a review of a movie this damn good. All right? Like, this movie is way too damn good for its own damn good. You know, like, I loved this film. I really did. Guys, if you haven't seen Incident in a Ghostland, do yourselves a favor. And Pascal Lafayette, his direction in this movie, like, the camera work, just, it was amazing. There's a certain way that these scenes are shot where it gives you such anxiety. I remember through the whole movie, like I said, I was yelling at the TV and shit. That's because this movie was giving me anxiety. Like, I was getting this, like, fuck, man. Like, every once in a while, I would literally just have to exhale and go, what the I kid you not. It was my natural reaction to sit there like this. And I swear to God, I sat there in that exact position for about 20 minutes, my eyes glued to the screen. What's sad is that's not even an over-exaggeration. Like, it might be by about 5 minutes, but I doubt that it's any more than that. Of course, I didn't take like timestamps, you know, from which time did I start doing that to which time did I stop doing that. But I mean, it was a long time, and my whole body was just tense watching this. This movie was so good. attention. If you guys liked Martyrs, you're gonna really like this movie. I don't know what else to say. Honestly, it kind of makes me want to watch Martyrs, which is very strange because that movie is so disturbing. Probably even more disturbing than this movie. I think this movie's a lot more tense than Martyrs is, but Martyrs is definitely a lot more disturbing than this film. But I don't know, man. I don't know what else to say about the movie, genuinely. Like, I'm in such a state where I am, like, I'm so elated that the movie was as good as it genuinely was, that there's nothing I can say right now other than this movie rocks. Like, if I were to just genuinely try to start talking about little tiny aspects of this movie, especially now that I've just been jacking it off for so long, like, the more I tell you guys about how much I like this movie, the more I'm gonna like this movie, and the more excited I'm gonna get about the fact that I liked this movie so much. Oh god. And then, so I'm just gonna cut right to the ending because I don't feel like I can be very constructive right now. Just understand this movie was fantastic. I've given you a bit of a review. So I'm gonna cut right to the end. And basically, they get out. Thankfully, a police officer comes to the house after they escape. The witch character, the guy in drag, shoots 2 cops, and then, of course, they're brought back to the house. But a cop comes in and he saves them. He kills both of the evil nutcases that are doing this, and they get to ride away in an ambulance at the end of the film, and the ambulance is talking to the little girl, and it's like, you're strong, what do you like to do? I'll bet sports. And she's like, no, I'm a writer. And it just cuts to credits, and oh my god, I love that. I love it so much. I love everything about this movie. And it almost leaves it, you could almost make an argument for the story that takes place after the mom leaves the house could be the story that takes place in her book, Incident in a Ghostland, and that none of that actually happened. However, I don't actually think that's the case. For a couple of reasons. One reason is, or at least I think it's a couple of reasons. Pretty sure I have a couple of them, but only one's coming to my mind right now. But one is definitely that towards the end of the film, when she's at this, like, ball or whatever it is for her book, H.P. Lovecraft is there. Like, the man himself. Of course, not actually H.P. Lovecraft, but, they found a guy who looks a lot like H.P. Lovecraft did. And he's talking to her about how much he loves her book. Of course, that's some fantasy stuff. And then her mom, so she's at this party and she sees a staircase with a door at the other end of it, and her sister is screaming on the other side of the door, and her mom's like, don't go. And she says, I have to, she's my sister. And so I think in the ending, realistically, what happens is she chooses an unpleasant reality over a pleasant fantasy because she had to save her sister. She felt a duty to get back and save her sister. And guys, if I could somehow express to you how much I love the story in this film, like just all of it. I love all of it. I'm a little unclear on the timeline, as I think there were different actors portraying the girls in the beginning of the film. I could be wrong on that. But I think there were different actor or actresses portraying the girls in the beginning of the film to the ones portraying the girls at the end of the film. Which is a little weird to me, because that doesn't exactly timeline. Or it probably does. I'm just not thinking like have they been here for years and years and years? Like have they been here for almost a decade or so? That would be really messed up. But I don't know. I guess that's just, if any of you guys know, then let me know in the comment section down below. Why did that rhyme? But guys, at the end of the day, Incident in a Ghostland, you know what? I'm really high on this movie right now. It may change down the road. It very well may. But right now, as we sit at the moment, in my opinion, Incident in a Ghostland is a masterpiece. It is a perfect 10 out of 10. If you haven't seen this movie, see this movie. It's terrifying. It's tense. It's absolutely fantastic. To borrow one of the douchiest critic phrases of all time from, I don't know, some douchey critic guy, it's a tour de force. I hate that phrase. I really do. Tour de force is a gross little... Honestly, it feels gross coming out of my mouth, but I mean, it really is. It's a masterpiece, guys. 10 out of 10. Thanks for watching. If you guys made it this far into the video, I really appreciate it. Seriously, go watch the movie. I'll catch you guys on the next one.